As your challenge exercise for the scroll effects, motion, and opacity exercises, I'd like you to create a 3-page website using the provided artwork of the cookies and the poster background. And in your master, I'd like you to create a very simple vertical menu using the widgets. And I do want you to color them so that the background is black in its normal mode, red in its rollover mode, and blue in active mode. Okay, and then we'll come out of there. And I'll just demonstrate these. I'll just test it in the browser here. Preview site in browser. And on the original still page, when I scroll down, it starts invisible. It's locked into place, but the background appears first, and then the foreground element appears second. So if I go backwards, they disappear in the opposite order. But I don't want any movement on this first one called still. Simply have the background appear first. Once it's at full opacity, then trigger the foreground graphic, which is a PNG, and that's why it has the beautiful transparencies. And then they are both on screen for the rest of the scroll. So one more time, starts invisible, scroll down, background appears, becomes opaque, foreground appears, becomes opaque, and then they both remain opaque for the rest of the scroll. Now for the second page called Side, it's similar to your first exercise. Again, they both begin invisible. As I scroll, they simultaneously will move in opposite directions until they meet in the middle and become completely opaque at the same time. So if I go slowly here, they do transition at the same time. It's not sequential. So they both move at the same time. One's moving left, one's moving right till they hit the trigger point. And at the same time, as they move, they are becoming more opaque. And once they hit the trigger point, they are fully opaque and remain in that location with that full opacity for the remainder of the scroll. So I'll go backwards here, where they slowly become invisible, and they each pan out from each side of the screen. So that's our second page. And if I go to the last one called Up, it's similar. Again, starts on invisible. My background scrolls up, locks into place. Once it's locked, the foreground will appear, but the foreground will not have any motion attached to it this time. So it will be locked. So background, invisible. As I scroll, it scrolls with the page at the same speed as the page. Becomes fully opaque once we hit the trigger. And at that point, the foreground element of the cookie box starts to materialize and become fully opaque as well for the remainder of the scroll. So the foreground does not move, it only appears, where the background not only appears but moves. Moving, appearing, and appearing. So those are the 3 pages that you'll create as your challenge exercise.